Yeah, man, the hero's journey is like I think people give it a bad rap, or it gets a bad rap,
I
uh,
agree.
because cliches get a bad rap. But
Yeah.
we talked about, with my story last week. We talked about, yeah,
How
there's a
much it
love.
sucks. Yeah. I mean,
It sucks terribly, and I hate it, and I hope it dies, and I hope you die. But it has a classic, love triangle, which is
yeah,
totally cliche. Oh, gag me with a spoon. I don't want to read another love triangle. But it's what you do with it. These tropes and
exactly.
these stereotypes and these cliches. That's the foundation. It's just it's like in music. Music has seven, well, 12 if you count your flats and your sharps, but 12 keys. That's it in all of music ever in history.
That I had no idea about.
Yeah, 12 keys. So consider the 12 keys your cliche. Everyone is using only one of 12 keys for every bit of music ever in
Holy
history,
crap.
from
I didn't even know that.
from Beethoven to Eminem to whoever to whatever. It's 12 keys.
That's where, and I don't know, I wouldn't know enough research to even declare this information. But some of the most popular stories out there that have been timeless are
Yeah.
built with the hero's journey recipe.
Oh, 100%.
And
Well,
I'm
I would say all of them of
yeah, I'm
fiction.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not all of them. Don't come for me, two viewers that are actually going to watch this. But yeah, I would say that overwhelming majority would be the hero's
Overwhelming.
journey. All
Because
of them.
the mentor, the
Yeah,
obstacles, the everything, right? The discovery, all of
yeah.
that. Star Wars?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Star Wars, and then the Star Wars of the fantasy universe, which is Harry Potter. It's yeah, any fiction. I'm not gonna say any, but most, and
Most.
even if people say no, it's not. Mine does this. No,
You take
douchebag.
elements.
Yeah, it's
That's the
still
thing.
it's
Even if you're
still the
not
hero's journey.
even if you're not following that entire cycle,
Right,
right? From point A to point Z,
right.
you are likely writing in some key elements
Yeah,
that are of the hero's journey, whether that is the mentor, whether your protagonist is going through an identity discovery when
right,
they're on their journey, whether that means they get to face the big villain at the end. Those are
right.
all part of the hero's journey.
It's
And
all
those are
part of
just
it.
3 points, which I think there's 9 or something. Like there's
Yeah,
yeah.
9, 12, something like that. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing as your keys in music. You can't say, oh, I'm going to write a song outside of this key.
You can.
You can't. Yeah, there's nothing outside of that. But for Western music, for any kind of music that you're familiar with,
Yeah.
yeah, there's 12 keys. And so it's the same thing. That is the foundation. The hero's journey, it's I think people try to say they aren't following the hero's journey because they want to be unique or whatever, or they take offense to, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing my
I'm
own
doing
thing.
something
No,
unique.
right. No, you take the foundation and you do something unique with it.
Your voice makes it unique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Your voice, your ideas, your experiences, your life experiences percolate into your voice, and that voice tells the story that nobody else can. Even if you
Agreed.
and I tell the same story, it's because of our voice, which comes from our life experiences, that our stories will be completely different, even though they're the same story.
Exactly. And we were discussing this right before we realized we should click record. But the every legend, every myth, every cultural lore you discover is these characteristics of the hero's journey.
Yeah,
And that's what makes it so fascinating. And that's where Joseph Campbell came in and said, hey, there's a pattern with all of these
right,
across centuries of civilization, across multiple cultures that never interacted with each other. They all carry these similar patterns when they tell these stories, whether it's Thor to Zeus or, gosh, I couldn't even begin to name off some of the more obscure
right.
gods and goddesses and lores. but they all share those similar patterns of a hero, of the journey, of the mentor, and
Right.
discovering and all of
Right.
that.
And the return,
The
the
return,
going
yeah.
back out, it's all part of it. It's all
Yeah.
part of it. And, Joseph Campbell, what he did, because what you said in the beginning, all the stories we know, all the lore, so he didn't create that foundation. That
No.
foundation was created in the first telling of stories.
Right.
And like you said, what he did is he found that something. He said, this is all connected. Here. All these stories are connected. This is the hero's journey. So he put a name to what's been there since the beginning. Just
Exactly.
just like, whoever came up with the keys of music, people started playing, single string guitars made out of stone and fire and ice. I don't know what they played in the,
Fire and ice.
yeah, but they were playing. Eventually, they had to create a structure,
Right.
so that the hero's journey is that structure. And so don't, writers, authors don't, especially new writers, authors don't hate or steer clear or poo poo or shun the hero's journey if it gets brought up with your writing, because that's the structure and it's tried and true.
It's
You
tried
know,
and true, and I
yeah,
know I think it's easy to say, like, "Well, yeah, I use the return, I'm a little
right,
more loosely structured,"
right,
but that's where you gotta be open to it, right? That
right.
it's not
I
you don't
mean,
have to follow the recipe,
no,
but
absolutely not. But it's the structure, and
yeah,
I guess my thing is when I hear people,
poo-poo it.
poo poo it. Yeah, it's like don't. Yeah, I mean, don't.
I pulled on it. I
Of
in my
course.
own work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, I've read all 3 of your books
Of
multiple
course you have.
times,
Of
and
course you have.
yeah, the one thing I say every time I read them is this is the hero's journey. So,
This is the birth of the hero's journey.
yeah. If anybody's curious, what we're talking about, I actually created a little worksheet that goes through plotting and structure. It goes through the hero's journey, breaks down all the steps, gives you kind of a history on it, and a lot more. Gosh, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's like 8 or 9 pages long.
Yeah, it was 10,
But
I think.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great little worksheet that is free, very educational, has some exercises in it, and a lot of information for writing, for plotting, for structure.
Yeah.
If you want that, we decided to make it free. So just click the link below. We would appreciate a subscribe, but I'm not going to put it behind a subscribe block. I'm not going to do it. So
No.
it's free. So pick it up if you see this and you are interested in the hero's journey, in plotting and structure, in writing in general. Check it out. It's yours. Get it.
And it's awesome. I reviewed it this morning.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
I am awesome.
Occasionally.
I am awesome.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Are you an author? Are you thinking about writing your first book? Are you a plotter or a pantser? Or are you asking yourself what the F that even means? Are you a seasoned pro? Or are you just getting started? Are you completely lost when it comes to everything writing, editing, formatting, cover design, publishing, etc.? Do you have any friends? Do you want a couple? Well, you've got them right here, where a best-selling author and an award-winning author come together every week and talk writing. We won't sugarcoat it. We won't piss on you and tell you that it's raining. We're just here to talk writing, and we want you to know that you're not alone. So I wanted to read this quote to you that I found last night that I thought was great, since we're talking about pantsing versus plotting, and I think
Structure.
a lot of structure, right? It all kind of it ties in, but I think a lot of people are curious what pantsing is, what plotting is. I prefer not plotting, not pantsing, but going commando, which is even further than pantsing. So
I was gonna say you don't have pants at that point.
Right. So we'll get into that. But this quote I thought was really good. So it's by Rose Tremaine, and it says, "In the planning stage of a book, don't plan the ending. It has to be earned by all that will go before it."
I
That was great.
love that.
I thought that was a great quote, and that's where we get into the topic of the conversation, right?
Yes.
So I have tried plotting many times. I have tried outlines, and I think we need to get to the understanding of what plotting is, because I mean there's
Agreed.
many layers to plotting, just like there's many layers to pantsing. Let's start with outlining. Let's start with hard outlining,
Mhm.
right? I struggle with hard outlining. I think it's great for creating ideas. It's great for getting a structure, like we talked about, and what's in the worksheet. It's great for getting that structure. You can even learn about your characters a little bit in
Yeah.
outlining. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and there's a ton of different ways to outline. And I have a worksheet for that too. If people want it, I can put that up. But where that gets you stuck is when you get down to write and you stick to your outline. That will
Yes.
destroy you. It will destroy you. Tell me if I'm wrong. If anybody listening strictly adheres to their outline as they write, you are a god. I don't understand how you do it. It's such a handicap. It is
It's
so
I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
I can't do it. You sit there and you write. Then all of a sudden your creativity comes. So from your
Ooh.
outline, you're writing, your creativity comes and it all of a sudden blows your outline out of the water.
Yep.
But then you feel scared, you feel nervous, you're kind of like teetering on this edge, and you kind of want to back up to safety, so you stick with your outline and you nerf your creativity.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they actually call it plotter's block, which I did not know was a thing because, like you, I'm not much of a plotter.
Yeah.
I will 100% admit I completely 100% panstered book one, The Blood of the Lion.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
it was, well, we'll break down and say now I'm more of a
Okay.
hybrid
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
think this
exactly. Yeah.
genre itself requires some organization because,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
I
little
mean, you
too
have to
big.
have, when writing epic and high fantasy, when writing epics of any genre,
Yeah.
I mean, you need a dictionary of notes.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and I
that's not your
really worked.
outline.
No.
That's your information, right? I mean, you have to
Right.
remember down to what kind of grass grows in what environment. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, you have to remember all that. So you're
Laws, culture,
right.
energy system, how the complex magic system that I do have,
Yeah.
the religions, the cultural beliefs and practices by kingdoms. I mean,
Yeah.
the list goes on,
Right.
and
And
you
on and on and on. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's yeah.
if you're writing one-offs or if you're writing something that is in the real world, it's a little easier, but
Oh, yeah.
you still need to remember names, places, down to what if you're writing a crime story or something, down to what weapon was used or what
Yeah.
ammunition was used, or if you're writing a horror story, you have to remember, the lore, but down to where the lore began. You have to keep track of all that. So
Yeah.
I don't consider that part of the plotting. I
Mhm.
consider that, I
Or
dictionarying, that
dictionary.
yeah, I consider that dictionarying. Uh, Interestingly, Stephen King, I think it was in on writing. I should have, but we're doing this new format where we don't prepare, which I think is cool. I like
Yeah.
not preparing and just
I
shooting
don't
from the
want a
hip.
script.
Right.
No.
But
Okay.
anyways, he talks about how he never plots or outlines ever.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that, and I believe it, but at the same time, there has to be some idea,
Organization. There
right?
has to be.
There has to be. Your idea has to come from somewhere, and you have to link idea A to idea B. And doing that off the cuff and doing that right here, I think that's the only way to do it. I
Yeah.
truly do.
And I think it might depend on the length of the story.
True.
So, for example, when I did the perfect story for the first horror anthology,
Hmm.
I was sitting there and I was trying to plot this story out because
Yes.
I thought to myself, I'd never really dived into a short story. I was always used to these 500-page epics that I worked on. So I was
Yeah.
nervous. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, how am I going to fit a story from point A to point Z in like 12,000 words?
Right.
That was my writer's block.
Yeah.
And so I tried to start plotting, plotting, plotting. And then I kept hitting what is now known as the plotter's block,
Yeah.
where my creativity was being suffocated because I'm not a plotter. And as I started writing, I kept falling into this pattern of, well, I don't really like that scene, but that's what I was supposed to write. What is
Exactly.
happening?
Right.
And I walked away. And I know you and I discussed this, but like I was sitting here and I was working for a company at the time doing remote work, and it hit me. Boom. And I sat there did not outline a single thing, and I wrote 85% of that story in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I knew from point A to point Z, I knew exactly how I wanted it to end and
Yeah.
everything. And that was a complete pantster moment where I just went off intuition, a gut feeling, and just knew my character and knew how and what themes I wanted to deliver, that vibe.
Yeah.
So I think it might depend on the story itself. And so
Yeah.
I love the king himself. I have like 50 plus books of
Oh
him
yeah.
right here.
Oh yeah.
But I can't help but wonder, bro, those some of those are like 400-page books. Or what
Right.
about it? Are you gonna tell me you pantstered the entire
Right.
1,000-page book of it? That would be impossible.
It would be and The Stand. I
Yeah.
mean, all the subplots, all the sub
Yeah.
you can't pants that.
No.
You know, you can pants most of the story, yes, maybe. And I think with someone of his caliber and his skill and 40 years
Mhm.
of professional writing,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
yeah,
even more if you start adding I
right.
mean,
That was
yeah.
off the dome, but when was
Yeah.
Carrie? Carrie was 70s, right? I mean,
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
it
yeah,
70s? Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, for so this dude obviously a seasoned pro. So yes, his brain works differently, and it just like a bodybuilder. I mean, those pros they can go in and
Oh.
get one muscle to pop, because they're so in tune with, so Stephen King obviously is not an example of what we're talking about
No.
because he has perfected his craft and created his own craft. Enough of the King. He gets enough time in the spotlight. He gets enough publicity. We're not talking about him anymore.
No. And I love
Uh,
his work, so
oh
it's
yeah,
just at the end of the
And
day.
again, Mr.
The
King,
book that has not been read yet,
yeah, thank you for this. Have not cracked it open yet, but
personally
I
signed.
intend to. I intend to. I actually put a new book on my nightstand.
Ooh, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I did, and it was really exciting. I've never read it. I've never even opened the first page, and I just put it on my nightstand, and I'm getting into it because of a conversation we had last week. I'm going to read this little red book by this very prominent, very very impressive young author called "The Blood of the Lion"
Well,
by C.D. McKenna. I put that on my nightstand.
no way.
Yep, and I'm gonna read it. I'm so excited.
No. Are you
Yep,
serious?
I'm serious. I'm serious. That is
Why am I
my
nervous?
dude.
Like getting really nervous now.
Well, you
Looking
know
at
what
the
else I
spot.
put? You know what else I put on my nightstand?
What?
My red pen and my highlighter.
No, you did
Oh
not.
yeah, I did. No, I'm kidding. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong.
That book, I've had to come a long way with it. It's a debut and I love it to death.
Hmm.
And now wrapped in with the trilogy,
Oh yeah,
I have so much pride for it
yeah,
because it does lay out such serious groundwork for this world and the
yeah.
characters. And that was one of the hardest books I think I've done.
So let me
So,
ask you: do you feel that we're probably 2 year spread between Blood of the Lion and the final or the end of the first trilogy, or is it longer than that?
well, 1 year and a piece, so maybe it's 3 years.
Okay, okay,
I can't remember
so
the
3 years.
I can't remember the publishing
Yeah,
date. So,
yeah. So would you say that your style of writing, style of preparation, your pantsing versus plotting, all of that, would you say that changed at all between book one and book three?
yes,
Yeah.
100%. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to bring it up, but now you give me a nice
Sweet.
segue into
There we
this.
go.
There
Yeah.
you go. That's what we do, professionals here,
No, darn
unscripted.
right. So talk to me about it.
Okay, so I kind of mentioned in the beginning that I 100% pantsed The Blood of the Lion.
Yeah.
In fact, I rewrote the draft 5 times completely pantsed before even handing it to an editor.
You rewrote the full draft?
Yes.
Oh, good gracious.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big book. Do you recall how many words
It was
in
over a
Bloodline?
million words
Oh
that
my gosh,
were
dude.
rewritten before my editor even got eyes on it. Yeah,
Crazy.
I know. I know. But so this is where I'm going to say hardcore pantsing,
Yeah.
while I adore it because I'm going to get into that, it is extremely detrimental when you start working with large word counts and large worlds.
Yes.
Because as I was pantsing, I was discovering the world as I went. And as I was discovering the world,
Do we have a guest?
we do
Hi,
have a guest.
hi, buddy. Hi.
There he is.
Daddy's recording. Go get Sissy. I love you. Love you, bud.
That was
Yep.
so cute. That was so cute. So, as I was writing out these drafts, I was discovering more of the world.
Yes,
And as I was
exactly.
discovering more of the world, I was discovering more about the characters. And these were things I didn't know prior to writing the book.
Yeah.
And it was changing the plot as I was going. And I would get to the end of this draft and I would realize so much that I wanted to include because I hadn't realized it prior to starting. And then I would start to have to redo the whole entire draft, and then I would do
Yep.
it again and again and again. And
Yep.
so as I was doing in my research, pantsing can take a lot more time in the editing world,
Right.
even if it's faster writing, because you have moments like this
Right.
where you are discovering everything as you go along. And when you're working with a world that's significant, these things can have major impact on plot
Right.
and character.
And
And so,
I think not to interrupt, but just to add to, I think that when you stick to your plot, your outline. When I say
yeah,
plot, I mean your outline. When you stick to your
yeah,
outline, you could really risk damaging or losing some of that find, some of that treasure, some of that
100%.
that you're talking about. And I think that's the crux of what we're talking about today is pantsing versus plotting, which by the way, spoiler, I think we're going to land on the fact that there needs to be a little bit of both. Is I think where we're going to land. Yeah, so
Yeah. No, and that's the thing.
please continue. Yeah.
So my editor obviously slaughtered my entire first draft and was like,
Yeah.
"What is this? There's no direction. What
Wow.
happened?" And that's because I did not understand the world because I had failed to plot. I had failed to get just a little bit of idea of who I'm working with, who are my characters.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Syra likes to eat, like
Right.
how could I even know what her motivation is?
Right.
And so that's where I think plotting just a tad
Yeah.
can have a really massive impact on your direction of a
Oh
storytelling.
yeah. Yeah.
And so when I got into the second book, I had originally outlined the entire thing. I tried. I
Yep.
tried.
Yep.
I thought, okay, I learned my lesson the hard way, and I
Yeah.
had to rewrite the majority of the first draft or the first book again in order by following some structured idea
Right.
and discovering my characters in the process and really enriching the world because I had just a little bit of foundation to lean on. And so I got to the second book and I plotted this whole thing out. I was so
Yeah.
proud of myself. I got 2 chapters in and completely pantsed it.
Yeah. Right.
And-
Right.
but I will say the ending was the same.
Right. And that kind of goes
Yeah.
back to that quote. That kind of goes back to that quote. You know, don't
Yeah.
when you're preparing your story, don't write the ending because that has to be earned,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's really interesting that you plotted your story, and the only thing that remained the same was the ending.
100%.
Yeah. So kind of
100%.
totally opposite of that. So you see how malleable and how different everyone's experience is going to be, which point B to our conclusion, I think, is going to be that there's not a hard rule.
There's not.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all. Everyone is going to have their own
Mhm.
experience, and don't buy into. I think that might be the point of this video. Don't buy into the fact that you have to be a pantser or a plotter, or you have to outline, or you have to go commando or whatever. No, because it's not a hard fast rule, and it's not one size fits all. And you may start one way and end up leaning the other way.
I am so happy you brought that up because that I'm going to say something about that. So, when I got into the third book, that was a true hybrid moment
Yeah,
where I gave myself a really loose foundational idea. I had obviously my characters and their motivation. That was easy to determine based off the fact that I had 2 books prior with these characters and I knew
yeah,
where they were going. Now, I had some key scenes where I was like, I need to have these in there. I've thought about these scenes for 3 books now, and I
Yeah.
know this is the book for them.
Sure.
And so I had them. I had a somewhat idea of the ending, which actually ended up changing,
Yeah.
which was really cool because
Yeah.
I'm more happy with them.
Yeah.
But I gave myself just a tiny bit of foundation and just a tiny bit of structure. And then I just let loose. And I was
Yeah.
like, fill in the blanks, fill in
Yep.
how are we getting to these points? What is
Yep.
happening? And what am I learning about these characters in the process
Yeah.
that is going to shape the end, earning the story's end?
Yeah.
And so that book actually breaking it down, I would say was the most successfully written for me because I experimented. I did
Yeah.
something entirely new. I actually
Yeah.
did a little bit of structure and then was able to follow certain guidelines that I gave myself while still permitting myself a large amount of creative freedom, which is where most of my storytelling happens with.
Yeah.
I can't, I mean, it's to the point where if I don't have a character's idea of what they're doing this all for, I won't even write the story. The
Sure.
plot doesn't matter. I have to have the character just know their theme and motivation.
Yeah.
And if I know they're a Morai, where they're a betrayed king who feels like the whole world is turned against him and he's spiraling, then I can lead with that. And I don't
Yeah.
even know where that's going. If you asked me right now, and I get this question all the time, how is the saga going to end? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have none. I
Which
don't
is
even know
great.
how book four is going to end.
It's as exciting for the readers as it is for you,
Right.
which is great.
There's so many writers, and again, I'm not there's no dissing here because everybody has their own way, and
Right.
I respect that. And as you said in the very beginning, a writer that can plot point A to point Z and feel really good about it and get in there and write it and feel enthralled, I like bow to you
Yeah.
because the organization, you spare yourself so much heartache in the editing
Right.
process, which is
Right.
where I suffer because I might have the fastest written book on the planet, but man, it'll take me months to edit and
Sure.
really break it down and get it prepared for publishing because one, it's massive, and two, it's a hybrid model of pantsing versus plotting. And there's stuff that I'm discovering when I get into page 55. I'm like, oh, I know
Yeah.
I wrote that.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a funny story, and Deborah, I'm calling you out.
Well,
So, one of the authors for Anatolian Press, Deborah Dobbs, who is our best-selling author, by the way, uh, she wrote The Psychotic Son,
yeah.
Total Pantsing. She wrote Vile, Total Pantsing.
Oh my.
And The Psychotic Son is a huge seller. She
Yeah. I
did,
was going to
and
say
she
it's
did,
great.
she did great work, and both those books are awesome. She's working on the third one now, and it has taken her forever. And she has admitted that she outlined the whole thing and she plotted the whole thing. And every time she looked at her outline, she went to her computer or to her keyboard and complete blank.
Oh my gosh. Plotter's block.
Yep. Yep. Everything. So and it just didn't work. And it didn't work. So
Yeah.
she had to toss the entire outline and pants it. Very interesting. I thought that was really interesting, and she should be done soon. She got a hold of me the other day and told me that the manuscript would be in, I think, mid-October, mid-November, something like that. We're going to try for a December release, but yeah. So very interesting. So there you go. Someone who pantsed the first 2 books and they were great, they were incredible, and someone who plotted the third book and it took over a year to get momentum on it because the plot was actually a detriment. It was blocking her creativity. Yeah.
Wow. That
So
is so
interesting.
fascinating. It
Yeah.
really is. And again, I really think it comes down to one, what kind of writer are you? Two, what genre do you work in? And three, what is your word count? I
Yeah.
think those make a big impact on whether you're a pantster, a plotter, or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And those, Deborah, being that she's obviously a very successful pantster,
Yeah.
tried to break that pattern, that
Can
her
I
creative pattern.
can I interrupt for a minute? Because I don't know if
No.
anyone watching is gonna. Oh, okay. I don't know if anybody watching or listening is going to catch this, but I'm going to put a word count or a counter at the bottom, and we'll play it. Drinking game, everyone. I'm going to put a counter at the bottom. Every time you say Pantser, you actually say Pantster. You put an extra
Don't come at me.
you put an extra T in it.
Don't come at me.
I'm just
Don't come
saying.
at me. I have to. I feel weird when I don't. Pantser? That
Pantster. Pantser. Because
Pantster.
it's pants Pantser.
No,
But you say
Pantster.
Pantster. So
Come at me.
so I just wonder if anybody else has caught that, or if anyone else has by the way, what do you say? Do you say Pantser or Pantster? Let
I
us know in
say
the comments.
Pantster. Okay.
We know what you say. I want to know what everybody listening says. I want to know what everybody watching says. So tell us if you say Pantser or Pantster, and I will keep a word count of how many times Chelsea says Pantster, and every time she says it, take a shot.
Shot. Sorry, that was an old
Yeah,
school song. I love that
that is
song.
an old song. That's funny.
I love it though.
Yeah, that's really good.
I will go to my grave saying Pantster. Thank
I mean,
you.
that's cool, man. It'll be an empty,
you.
lonely grave. So
With my books.
with your books, that's it. Just
That
you
is
and your books.
funny. You and your books. Now, I
Yeah.
will say there's a fascinating study I stumbled on
Okay.
last night when I was doing my research.
Cool.
And it said it was a 2009 study, I believe, and it was done by a university.
Mhm.
And they did a research survey where they asked writers whether they were extroverted or introverted. And they were trying to figure out whether there was a link between the types of writing and whether or not you are an extrovert or an introvert.
Very interesting. I love that.
I thought that was I'm a big study person. I love seeing facts. However,
Will we be able to put can you send me the link later, and I'll put it in the show notes so people can go to it?
I can,
Cool. Okay.
but I will tell you that I thought the study was unfounded.
Really?
So the deeper I got into it, I thought that's a big statement to make where you think a plotter is going to be more extrovert, or I'm sorry, a plotter is more introverted, and a pantster is more extroverted.
Another one for the counter.
And I thought to myself, I said, well, why don't I ask the community? And so I reached out to, I'm in quite a few groups of writers, and I reached out to them and I just asked. I said, okay, I'm getting on tomorrow morning to record, and we're going to be discussing this, and I would love to hear your guys' feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to obviously name names or anything like that because that would take all day.
Yeah.
But I did tell them that this information would be provided. And the question was, would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? And are you a pantster or a plotter? Or do you consider yourself somewhere in the middle? And the majority of them came back completely against the study's conclusions, saying that they are introverted and they are a pantster, or they fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I only found 2 extroverts, and that they outright said, yeah, I'm 100% an extrovert, but I'm also a plotter. So it was completely against the study that was done, and nothing came back right.
So after you started explaining the study, once my mind caught up, so I'm a very slow, stupid person. So it takes a minute for my mind to catch up. But once my mind caught up, the first thing I thought was, it sounds like an easy out, almost like clickbait, or maybe like something that. And I'm not saying that this study could have been 100% legit. Obviously, it was. It was 100% legit, whether the results were legit or not. But
they're not.
Yeah. But it sounds almost like an easy out because, well, obviously, if you're introverted, you're going to be this, and obviously, if you're extroverted, you're going to be this. And people don't fall into categories like that.
No, and I would want to wonder what kind of writers did they ask? Did they ask the university class writers that are showing up to class each day that maybe aren't really doing this because they're
writing college papers and theses and things like this,
right, which could be a completely different thing.
Right.
Academia is a completely different field of writing than creative writing. And these academias could be true introverts and extroverts, and they could be plotting their academic paper rather than pantsing it, which I
Right.
would hope you would be plotting an academic level paper.
Yeah. Of course.
But
Yeah. Absolutely.
true writers that you ask the real community, you go out in the wild and say, you have been writing for X number of years, or you have been writing for X number of months. I mean, I don't know. There's
Right.
writers across the world in different phases of their life.
Right.
And, when you ask them, who are you? It majority is coming back as completely against the study.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a
Interesting.
really interesting thing
Very
that they're
interesting.
trying to categorize these writers.
Yeah.
You can't really categorize us based on our personality,
Right.
whether we're extroverted or introverted. Now,
Right.
I do think there is some point of discussion that we can do in a future deep dive where there is personality traits that really influence your writing style.
I
That
could
would be a
definitely see
fun
that.
one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because as we were talking about pantsing versus plotting, and I can't remember where it was, but my brother came to mind, and we talked about my brother a little bit. I don't know if we actually put it in the
A
episode. We
little
talked
bit.
about my
We
brother.
did a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a maestro at piano, and
Mhm.
he's just, I mean, he's a genius at music, music theory, skill, all aspects. But he doesn't listen to music,
Which I think is fascinating.
which is crazy because that's just the way his brain works.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, maybe someone who does X, in this case, writing, someone who does write, but doesn't see it as a creative process, but more sees it as a mathematical equation, or as an equation, or as a, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, if you're more of that
then
logical
right,
person,
then maybe the plotting is exactly
helps.
what you need to get your story from A to Z.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because my brother, is very logical, and he's
Yeah.
very, that side of the brain. And so that's why he doesn't actually listen to music, because he doesn't really get anything out of it, because he's not a creative. He's
Right.
on the logical side. So when he writes music and when he does music, it's always from well, this mode works with this key,
Yeah.
uh, elicits this emotion,
Mhm.
Whereas me, I learned very little theory.
Oh, yeah.
I know minors are sad, majors are happy, things like that.
Right.
So, when I write, I'll usually write in a minor key, but I won't say we'll do an A minor in a 1-4-5 pattern. I won't do that. Even though that's a classic, that's like I think 1-4-5 is the classic pattern in modern music. But I won't say I'm going to do 1-4-5. I'll just say, no, I'm playing this, and then, oh, this note sounds good, so I'll play this. So it's totally different. Like, so yeah, so I will pants in creating music as well, where my brother will. I mean, everything is structured in music theory, so it very well could be the structure of writing. If you're that side of the brain,
Yeah.
you are writing because of a structure, and this is how it
I
works.
think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
I started to build that theory where I thought there must be some sort of personality
yeah,
influence with how you write. But to hear it from your brother's perspective and
yeah.
compare it, I 100% stand by that
Yeah,
now.
I think so too.
Okay.
I think we just landed on something that may change the entire fabric of our universe. I think that's how
Yeah.
important we are as a YouTube channel and as writers and authors, and I think that's how important we are as idea people.
You're welcome.
Because yeah, you are welcome.
You are welcome. You are
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah,
Um, let me we've had overcast all day.
yeah. You're getting
Hold
pretty
on.
bright. You're getting pretty bright. I just thought it was something you were trying. I just thought you were scooting like that. That's better. Yep, that's better.
Way better. Okay.
I don't know if it'll come out better, once it goes to high def and all that. You might look a little dark, but you were getting real washed out there.
Yeah, for a second there I saw it in the last 2 minutes and I was like, ugh, we'll change
Yeah,
that again.
yeah.
We've had like crazy Alaskan overcast weather where it's
It's
just like,
but I mean, I'll freaking take it all day.
yeah.
Like I don't. We've talked about it. I can't remember where you land though. You know me and heat. Like I can't remember. You're pretty much a fall winter girl too,
I
right?
love cool weather. I
Yeah,
love cool
yeah.
weather. It's been like 60 degrees here, 55 to 60 degrees.
That's freaking beautiful. In
Yeah.
August, that
Yeah.
is. Man, now
Is
because
that nuts?
I was just gonna say, I walked out today to let the dogs out, and it was 68 degrees and no humidity, and it was gorgeous.
Oh
But
my
I know we're gonna get up to, and
gosh.
we are having a very cool streak right now, so we're only gonna get up to like 75, 76, which in August we're usually in the hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
It's usually brutal here.
yeah. So I'll take it. But man, oh man, this next day or two. Oh gosh, I've already got a couple cigars picked out. I'm gonna
Okay.
go smoke a couple cigars. Shout out to
Okay.
Deborah again, Deborah Dobbs, who we were talking about earlier. She's a big cigar girl. So
Oh,
shout
I
out to
didn't know
her. Yeah,
that.
yep. She enjoys her. I think that's might be one of the reasons we click so well because she enjoys a cigar and bourbon. Yep.
Deborah.
Yeah. Yeah. Check her out. Go check out her Instagram. She posts some her bourbons and her cigars and
I feel like
you
I
know
didn't even know this about Deborah, and I follow her. Like,
yeah yeah
what?
she enjoys that stuff and I do too. But I cannot do anything like that when it's hot. Who wants to because I'm not a smoker.
No.
I've never smoked cigarettes. I can't
Yeah.
put anything in my lungs. I think that's just a terrible and no offense to anyone. I think anyone who does it knows that it's dangerous for you, and so I just choose not to. But
Yeah.
with a pipe, and with a cigar, you don't inhale. It's
Yeah.
more the puff and the taste. So
Oh, see,
yeah,
the more you know. I didn't
the
even
more
know
you know,
that.
right?
I didn't even know
So
that.
hey kids, go smoke cigars and pipes and not cigarettes. So
Beautiful.
is that
Beautiful.
okay to say? Can I say that? I
I
mean,
don't
right?
know. I don't know. I don't
It's
know anymore.
I mean, it's good. It's good. It may not be the best advice, but it's better than to go smoke cigarettes. So
I feel like no, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna
yeah,
seal my mouth before I say something I shouldn't
yeah.
say.
Well, you should have sealed it at the beginning of the episode then because you keep saying Pantster. So
Pantster. I will go to my grave with that.
I kind of do want to play a drinking game now, but I don't drink anymore. I mean, I do, but I'm trying to lose weight and all that crap. So
And it
uh,
is 8:40 in the morning for me here.
that's fine.
You're like, it's fine.
It's 5 o'clock
Fine.
somewhere. So
Go get crunk.
yeah, get crunk, bro.
So I have a question for you because you asked about my writing style, and I think it's only fitting I ask about you. Like, would you consider yourself? You've kind of mentioned that you're a pantster, but have you leaned more into the plotting, or does it depend for you too?
It definitely depends. So for short stories, I'm 100% pantser. I think it's a lot easier to be a pantser. And it's I think short stories are such a good practice in creation.
Yeah.
So anyone who's out there trying to, write their novel or write their magnum opus or whatever, man, get into some short stories and don't sell yourself short. Like short stories are easier or short stories are lesser because they're not.
No.
They are not. They are great. They are difficult. They are different. So get out there and start writing short stories. Anatolian Press, our publishing company, we put out a horror themed short story anthology every year. That has been a huge success. We love doing it, and everyone who's involved loves doing it because it takes them out of their novel writing, their big epic hard concentrate, get this done, and it just puts them in a different vibe. So do some short stories, writers. Go write a short story. So as far as pantsing goes, I think for short stories it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
For novels, again it depends, and I can't speak to novels. I've actually never written a novel. I wrote the Urban Legends, Ghost Stories, and Folklore, which was basically my interpretation of all these urban legends and folklores throughout time and space and cultures. And it was a incredibly fun. There was a bit of storytelling in there, but it was based in
Yeah.
truth. So
Yeah.
that was totally different. And each story I pantsed. I didn't outline what was going to go into each story, but you could almost consider each chapter more of a short story.
Wow,
So
interesting. Did you know what stories you were going to use
yeah,
though?
yeah. So I
You
went out
did.
and
Okay.
researched. You have to do all your research there, and I did a lot of research. We've talked about that in the past, and it's a great book if you want to go check it out. If you don't worry
You
about it.
should.
It's good. It's good. But so I've never written a novel. I'm writing a novel, but it's been in the works for ages. There are 37 chapters, and each chapter is outlined.
That's weird.
It is outlined. Will I follow that? Absolutely not. But it gives me a starting point,
Yes.
right? It gives me bullet points. We were talking about it last week, and we had some people DM us and email us saying, "Man, that sounds great. When's it coming out? Can we check it out? Whatever." No clue. But
I people reaching out to me about your
Sweet.
story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And when it comes out, it's going to be awesome and it's going to be great. And it probably won't follow the plot. But when we were talking about it, I was talking to you about the outline.
There will be
You
no
know,
gnomes.
there oh, there will no, that's written. That is written and that is done. And man, oh man, it's a great scene.
Oh,
But
that's amazing.
yeah, so I can't really speak to novel writing, pantsing versus plotting. I did write an outline, but every time I go to write, I look at it and I say, "Oh, that's a cool starting point," and then I don't look at it again, and I go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So again, back to I think that outlining is good, plotting is good to a point, but if you allow it to hinder your creativity, then you are doing yourself and your readers a disservice. What do you think about that?
I I agree, because I think when you start leaning on your intuition when you're writing these characters out, and there is an internal intuition that starts, at least for me.
Yeah,
And that internal intuition will start to say, okay, I know I have to get to point B, but my character is really he's not going there. It isn't true to his character. His character is starting to veer off course. We're still
yeah,
going to get to point B, but it might take an extra couple of chapters.
for sure.
But in doing so, we're going to learn a lot about him in the process, as well as the plot.
Yeah,
And that intuition is telling you for a reason why you need to go there.
yeah,
Follow that.
absolutely.
That
Never,
Don't
never
ignore that.
ignore that. Yeah,
And that's why I think for me, that's where my writer's block, which was more plotter's block, started to arise, which was I thought I had to go in this direction.
yeah,
And so I always hear
exactly.
these people that say, oh, writer's block, writer's block, writer's block. And I'm like, I've resolved that.
Yeah,
That sounds absolutely miraculous and
yeah,
like a religious experience, but I have solved writer's block, at least for me.
yeah,
And writer's block happens when I am trying to force characters into a predetermined idea,
exactly,
even if I'm
exactly.
pantsing it, that says I need to be going in this direction.
Right.
I don't. Follow your intuition, and I
Hot.
will scrap an entire scene.
Yes. Hot take. There is no such thing as writer's block. What? Yes or no?
And that's I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it is an intuition moment.
Yep.
I think it
I
is
agree.
a creative need to
Yeah.
express a story in a different light
Yep.
that has been determined because of how you are currently writing. So, you're writing, and now you're getting to that scene and you realize, why can't I finish the scene?
Yeah.
And it's because you weren't listening to your intuition, which may have happened the last paragraph. It may have happened in the previous chapter,
Yeah.
where you realized, I can't go this direction.
Yeah.
And when you
And
realize that,
right.
get rid of it.
Get rid of it. And if you're stuck, it doesn't mean you have writer's block. It means write something else.
I agree.
Write
I
something
agree.
else. Even if it's on a different project,
Yep.
even if it's on the weather outside,
Yeah.
you don't have writer's block. You may have, like you called it, intuition block, or a stumbling block there. You may have that, but you do not have writer's block. So don't get caught up. Don't get fed, or don't consume the lies or the possibility that you have writer's block. You don't. You're a writer.
Yeah.
Write something.
And that's the thing. You are born a storyteller. Like, even if
Right.
you don't discover that until years after you think you should have discovered it,
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong answer. You
Right.
could have picked up a pen at 45 and been like,
Exactly.
holy crap, I am a storyteller. Like,
I am a storyteller.
that's great.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's easy for new writers to fall into that trap of everything is titled and categorized.
Exactly.
I have to plot. I have to pants.
Right.
There is no right way, or there is a right way,
Right.
and I have to. I'm terrified of the big writer's block,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
no, don't.
Right.
Writing
I
is a
think,
creative freedom, so use it
the
like that.
The writing community for the most part is incredible. I think we do have a topic coming up where we talk about competition between writers, haters, or this group or that group or whatever. I think that's an interesting topic, and we want to discuss that. But for the most part, the writing community is very, very good, very supportive. But something that gets kind of weaves its way in, kind of snakes its way in, is this poisonous idea that, all these things, these categories, these terms, this isn't like math. You need to know some rules more in formatting and grammar, things like that. You need to know some of that. But mostly, you just need your creativity and your life experiences. Like I said, your
Yeah.
life experiences percolate into your voice. Your voice tells the story.
Yeah.
So let's ask anyone who is watching, listening, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? Question B, are you an introvert or an extrovert? I would like to know. I would really like to put that together and see what everybody says, what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
I also want to show you some notes of some DMs I got of our first episode. I thought this was nice. It made me feel good, and thank you to those of you that shot in some messages and let us know. But I had one that said liked the episode a lot. Anytime I listen to something and wish I could jump in on the conversation, I enjoy it. So
Oh,
so that's great. I was like, yeah, man, that's kind of the goal. That's kind of the plan, is to just have a conversation. Let's talk about writing. Let's
yeah.
learn a bit from each other. And if we can impart some kind of knowledge or some kind of information that you don't have yet, then
Yeah.
we've done our job. And we're going to talk about things in the industry that, maybe a lot of people don't talk about. I see a lot of the same videos on YouTube covering the same thing. And it's like, dude,
Sugarcoating.
yeah, you could watch these videos ad nauseum, but you're not really like learning a ton.
Yeah.
Let's break it down, just have a conversation and learn. So yes, this is a conversation. We want it to be a conversation. We want people to be involved in it. The other one I wanted to point out was, this listener said, first off, let me just say how great this episode was. Every aspect was good. I really enjoyed the natural, real feel of the conversation. It was like having a conversation with a good friend. You two are really onto something. I look forward to the next episode.
Oh, that was so
So,
nice.
yeah. So thank you to those of you that are watching, and super thank you to those who are emailing us, DMing us, and letting us know what's up, because we
Hmm.
really, really appreciate it.
And speaking of, that means I want to shout out Kat. She told me I can use her name.
Cool.
Kat was the individual who sent us the picture last week showing us on the big screen. We
Oh,
were on
fun.
TV, everybody,
Yeah, yeah,
which I thought was crazy. I don't know
yeah. Heck
why
yeah.
it just totally tripped me out. I was like, we're on 50 inches of
I'm
screen.
a TV star. What's up?
But Kat was so funny because it almost felt like, as an author, you will send your book out and you will have readers give you a play by play, right?
Yeah.
They will message you and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe so and so just did that. I can't believe that character just did that. And I have always said those moments mean more to me than any review I will ever receive, because it's just
Yeah,
raw and in
it
the
is.
moment.
Yep.
And that's what Kat was doing while watching our episode last week.
Awesome.
And it
Hey.
was such a unique and monumental moment because it was real. It was raw. It was so intimate to have somebody from across the pond and have her sitting here on her couch, chair, bed. I don't know where she was
Yeah,
sitting,
yeah.
telling us exactly how she felt right in that moment. And yeah, she was just, and she had a lot of insight to say regarding some of our discussion points, which I thought was so cool. That conversation piece that we
Cool.
just discussed.
Yeah.
We want this to be a conversation. We want to be engaging. We're not going to be gatekeepers. That's something Mike and I feel very, very against. When
Yeah.
people gatekeep information, that's not what this community is about. And we want to be able to provide insight, information, advice, have a good laugh while we're doing it, and take something away from each of these episodes.
Yeah.
And Kat was sitting there and just telling me these things that, from her experience as a reader, that I thought was so insightful, that we'll definitely dig in on some future topic points. But yeah,
Awesome.
so shout out to Kat too, because that was such a sweetheart move to do.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kat. Yeah, that makes my day. I love it. Thank you to the others. I did not ask for permission to use names, so I will not use names. But
Yeah.
if now from now on, I kind of like ending the episode with some shout outs.
Yeah.
So from now on, if you guys are cool with us using your names, even socials or whatever, yeah, we'll do that, because like Chelsea just said, it's a community. We're not wanting to gatekeep. We're nobody special. We've just been doing this for a while. We know a little bit, and we want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy everything that that we're talking about, that we're doing, gosh, it would really help us if you hit the subscribe button, if you hit the like button. It'd be super swell of you. And of course, shout out. I did kill our Patreon because we're kind of moving everything over. But I wanted to thank you so much to those that were on Patreon and helping us out there. So Michelle, you're awesome. JB, you're awesome. So thank you all, and hopefully we'll get a new one up. But right now we're just really more focused on getting the conversation started and getting some
Yep.
information out there. Yeah.
Yep.